Most people suffer not from lack of intelligence, but from lack of intention. They don't think, they react, they don't build thoughts, they borrow them. And that's the beginning of financial mediocrity. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. If your thinking is lazy, your results will be expensive. If your thoughts are cloudy, your direction will be crooked. There is no such thing as a rich man with poor thinking habits. Because critical thinking is the currency of clarity, and clarity is the compass that leads to fortune. Don't just think harder, think sharper. Because the sharper you're thinking, the faster your progress. So today let's take a journey not through theory, but through strategy. We'll learn what it means to think critically like the wealthy do, with discipline, with clarity, and with purpose. Let me tell you something I discovered early in my journey. From average to exceptional. The world is noisy, but wealth whispers. And if you don't create a space quiet enough to hear it, you'll miss the signal entirely. You see, most people fill their days from sunrise to midnight with action, noise, scrolling, talking, reacting, and they wonder why they feel lost. The wealthy, on the other hand, schedule time, not just to do, but to think, to reflect, to direct. That's where the gold is. Now let me give it to you straight. If your mind is always in motion, it never has time to organize itself. And an unorganized mind is like a cluttered desk. Nothing gets found, nothing gets built, and nothing grows. I started making real changes in my life the day I decided to sit in silence for 15 minutes a day. No television, no phone, no email, just a pad, a pen, and a question. Where am I going? And how am I doing? Most people think thinking is passive. No, it's one of the most active disciplines you can develop. Great leaders, wealthy builders, creators of fortune, they all give their mind room to breathe, stretch, and explore. Why? Because every great idea starts in silence. Every plan that works is born from thought that was given time to mature. Try this. Set a timer for 15 minutes tomorrow morning. Sit down somewhere quiet, no devices, no distractions. Now write. Think about your income, your expenses, your habits, your relationships. Where are you winning? Where are you slipping? Ask yourself, if I keep doing what I'm doing, where will I be in 5 years? Then write the answers. Clarity isn't magic, it's discipline. I used to think journaling was soft too, until I started doing it, and my life doubled in productivity and direction. Ideas that used to float away became action plans. Problems became priorities. And most importantly, I stopped living on autopilot and started steering the ship. You can do the same. Thinking time isn't wasted time. It's where the invisible becomes visible. And once you can see it, you can build it. Let me share something that changed the entire trajectory of my financial life. Poor thinkers only look at the next paycheck, the next bill, the next weekend. But wealthy thinkers, they stretch their mind beyond the month, beyond the year sometimes, even beyond their own lifetime. They think in decades. But here's the paradox. While they hold a long-term vision, they make short-term decisions that align with that vision. That's the key. It's the ability to zoom out for clarity and zoom in for action. When I was struggling financially, I noticed something: my thinking had a short fuse. Everything was reactive. I only asked, what do I need to survive this week? No, never. Where do I want to be in 10 years and what must I do today to get there? That shift from reaction to intentional projection changed everything. Now, here's a strategy I started using and teaching. First, write out your 5-year, 10-year, and 20-year wealth goals. Don't just dream right. How much income do you want by year 5? What kind of investments should you have made by year 10? What legacy do you want to have built by year 20? Paint it with numbers. Describe it in detail. You can't build what you haven't described. Once that's clear, it's time to reverse engineer it, break it down. What would need to happen this year to move the 5-year vision closer? What would need to happen this quarter to stay on track for this year's target? Wealthy people don't live in fantasy, they bring dreams into a schedule. When I was 25, I did this for the first time. I said, in 5 years, I want to be earning 6 figures through my own business. So I asked, what do I need to learn this year? Sales. Communication? Management? I turned those into books to read, people to study, and skills to practice every week. By year 5, I had exceeded the goal. Not by accident, by design. Now here's the other secret. Long-term goals inspire you, but short-term action grows you. The wealthy don't just dream big, they make the next step manageable. They say, that's the mountain, but here's the next rock I need to step on. So they focus on both the summit and the step. And that's how they build steady, powerful momentum. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the size of the dream. That's why you break it down into today's choices. What will you learn this week? Who will you connect with? What expense will you cut? What new skill will you begin developing? Success doesn't show up in one big wave. It arrives in small ripples that compound. So here's the formula. Dream long, act short. Design the future, then master the present. The wealthy live in that tension, and it's what pulls them forward. Keep both the mountain and the next step in sight, and you'll never be stuck again. When I first began to understand the difference between staying broke and building wealth, I discovered something most people never learn in a lifetime. Effort is limited, but leverage is limitless. Let that settle in. Your energy, your hours, your hustle, they all have a cap. There are only so many hours in the day. But leverage multiplies your results without multiplying your workload. And that, my friend, is where the wealthy live. Now, I used to think working harder was the solution. And don't get me wrong, there's value in hard work. But the goal isn't just to work hard. The goal is to make your hard work build something that works without you. You see, the poor think labor equals value. The rich think leverage equals value. The question that changes your life is not, how can I work more hours? It's, how can this earn even when I'm not there? I learned this firsthand. Early on, I was giving seminars live, in person, and the only way I got paid was to show up. That was labor. But then I began to record those seminars. I created tapes, books, materials, and guess what? They started selling while I was sleeping. Same message, same effort, up front. But now I had leverage. My words were working for me long after I said them. So here's the practical shift. Think about one area of your income right now. Is it 100% dependent on you showing up? Your time? Your energy? If it is, ask yourself, what system could I create to reduce my involvement? What part could I automate? Could I hire someone, delegate a task, or use a tool that frees me to think bigger? The wealthy don't do everything. They design systems that do everything. Let's say you're running a small business. Maybe you handle the emails, the clients, the bookkeeping, the marketing. That's labor. Start by outsourcing one of those, maybe your emails or admin tasks. Then put your freed up time into building a course, a product, or a service that doesn't rely on your daily presence. You'll start to see what I call freedom income. It's the kind of income that doesn't ask, did you clock in today? If you're an employee, the same principle applies. Start building leverage outside your job. Use your evenings to create, not consume. Learn a skill, build a side business, invest in assets. Turn what you know into something that grows without your hand constantly on it. The wealthy invest their time into things that multiply, not things that only maintain. Here's the bottom line. You can hustle your way to survival, but you must leverage your way to freedom. And freedom is the goal, not just for rest, but for impact. So don't ask, how can I earn more by working harder? Ask, how can I earn more while working smarter and eventually while not working at all? That question, when asked daily, will move you from laborer to leader, from earner to owner. And that, my friend, is when money starts working for you. Most people walk past opportunity every day, not because it doesn't exist, but because they haven't trained their eyes to see it. You've heard the saying, opportunity is everywhere. That's true, but only for the mind that's looking. The average person sees a problem and walks away. The wealthy see a problem and lean in. They ask, Is this a gap I can fill? Could this be a door dressed as difficulty? That shift from frustration to observation is how fortunes are built. Let me tell you, the world doesn't reward those who complain about problems. It rewards those who solve them. I remember years ago, I went into a store where the customer service was so poor, I left frustrated. Now, I could have done what most people do, vent to a friend, write a bad review, and move on. But instead, I asked myself, if I were the owner, how would I fix this experience? I sat down that night, journaled my answers, and realized that just in those 15 minutes, I had the blueprint for a better business. You see, the seed of wealth is often wrapped in a problem no one wants to solve. The key is observation. So here's something I started doing that changed everything, and you can do it starting today. Every time I experienced a frustration, long lines, poor service, confusing forms, delayed deliveries, I would write it down in what I called my opportunity notebook. Then I'd ask, what caused this problem? And how would I make it better? Finally, I'd ask the magic question, would people pay for this solution? That process turned my daily life into a classroom for wealth building. Because here's the truth, every problem is a potential product, every frustration is a business idea in disguise, and every inefficiency is someone's million-dollar invention waiting to happen. I've seen this play out countless times. One man was fed up with how hard it was to find healthy snacks for his kids. So he created his own, sourced the ingredients, made it fun, and turned it into a brand sold in thousands of stores. Another was tired of waiting on hold for customer service, so he built an app that waits on hold for you, now used by millions. Same frustration you and I feel. The only difference is they trained their minds to ask, what if I solved it? The wealthy don't have more luck. They have better questions. And the question that keeps them rich is this, quote, where's the gap, and can I fill it better, faster, or more meaningfully than others? That's how businesses are born. That's how solutions become income streams. So starting today, make a practice of seeing with purpose. Next time you get frustrated, don't just feel it, write it. Then fix it on paper. Then imagine if others would want that fix. You don't need a big idea to get rich. You need a trained eye that sees small problems and turns them into scalable value. That's how you shift from consumer to creator, from complainer to solutionist, and from paycheck to profit. Opportunity doesn't shout, it whispers through the cracks. Train your mind to listen. I've often said willpower is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. You can't rely on feeling good every day. You won't always feel motivated. And the people who are waiting for perfect moods to take the right actions, they wait forever. That's why the wealthy don't depend on willpower, they depend on systems. Systems are habits you build once and let run for years. And if you want wealth that grows, you need systems that remove temptation, reduce decision fatigue, and replace emotion with structure. Now let me take you back to a conversation I had with a young man years ago. He said, I want to save money, but every time I get paid, something comes up, a dinner here, a little shopping there, and before I know it, I've got nothing left to invest. And I said, that's because your system is spending first and thinking later. The wealthy reverse that. They automate the right behaviors before the temptations even show up. Here's the strategy. Before you see your paycheck, divide it automatically. Set up your account so that 10-20% goes directly into investments. Not when you feel like it. Not when you've handled everything else. Automatically. Make it invisible if you can. Out of sight, out of spend. Then send another 10% into what I call your education fund. That's money reserved for books, courses, seminars, mentoring, anything that sharpens your thinking. Because wealth is not just about growing money, it's about growing you. The remaining portion, that's your spending plan, not your emotional playground. Use it for needs, allocate it consciously. If you don't give your dollars a job, they'll go out partying without your permission. Set limits, not because you're restricting joy, but because you're prioritizing freedom. Financial peace is when every dollar knows its duty before it hits your hands. Now, I know what some people say, but that sounds restrictive. What if I want to enjoy life? And my answer is always the same. Isn't peace of mind the highest enjoyment? Freedom is fun. Stress is not. Automating your finances isn't about denial, it's about design. It's about setting your future self up to win, whether or not your present self feels like being disciplined. I did this for myself early on. I wasn't making a fortune when I started. I just decided that if I couldn't handle $1,000 well, I'd never handle $10,000. So I built the habit. I set up automatic transfers. The moment I got paid, I paid my future before I paid my present. Over time, those little systems built a foundation strong enough to support abundance. So don't wait for motivation. Build a mechanism. If your budget lives in your head, it'll disappear by dinner. Get it on paper. Get it into your bank. Get it into action. Automate what matters so you can forget what doesn't. That's how the wealthy behave, not once in a while, but every day, without needing to think about it. You don't rise to your intentions, you fall to your systems. So make sure your systems are wealthy ones. I've always believed that the mind is a workshop. Whatever you consistently build in your imagination eventually finds a way into your reality. Wealthy people know this. They don't just daydream aimlessly, they rehearse intentionally. They understand that before you can hold a new financial life in your hands, you must first see it clearly in your mind. That's not wishful thinking, that's mental conditioning. Just like an athlete visualizes the shot before they take it, the wealthy visualize their future financial success before it arrives. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you spent 5 uninterrupted minutes imagining your ideal financial life, not just the car or the house or the lifestyle, but the mechanics of it? The income streams flowing in with ease, the deals closing in your favor, the investments growing quietly in the background, the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're not only wealthy, but wise. That's not fantasy, that's rehearsal. And the more you rehearse it, the more your subconscious begins to treat that image as normal, and then you start making decisions that align with that picture. I remember when I first started practicing this, I would sit quietly each morning and mentally walk through my financial future. I'd imagine speaking to business partners with confidence. I'd picture opening investment statements that made me proud. I'd see myself writing checks for charities. And I didn't just feel the pleasure of it, I studied the systems that got me there. In my mind, I'd see the discipline, the conversations, the transactions, the learning, the setbacks, the resilience. I rehearsed it all. And what happened? Bit by bit, I started behaving in line with that vision. And behavior, my friend, always precedes reward. You see, most people rehearse poverty without knowing it. They rehearse anxiety. They replay every past failure, every bill they're behind on, every mistake they've made. They visualize what they fear, and then wonder why their lives look so familiar to that fear. But the wealthy, they practice something else entirely. They mentally prepare for opportunities before they come. And because they're prepared, they recognize them. That's the secret. You don't get what you want, you get what you're ready for. And visualization makes you ready. Here's the practical step. Block out 5 minutes a day, just 5. Sit down, breathe deeply, and walk through your financial future like it's already yours. See the specifics. Don't just say, I want to make more money. Picture $100,000 flowing into your accounts. Visualize your calendar filled with high-value tasks. Imagine logging into your investment account and seeing growth. And then, this is important, pay attention to what kind of person you need to be to live that life. What habits do you need? What knowledge? What level of confidence? That's where the transformation begins. If you can't see it, you can't build it. And if you don't build it in your mind first, life will build something else for you, usually by default. But if you take control of the blueprint, if you rehearse wealth the way a musician rehearses a song, then over time, what once felt distant will begin to feel natural. And that's when change really begins, when wealth no longer feels foreign, but familiar. You won't outperform your self-image, so upgrade the image and the results will follow. Building wealth isn't just about numbers or knowledge, it's about the strength of your mind when life tests your resolve. I've seen many people who know exactly what to do financially, but when pressure mounts, when fear, impatience, or greed kick in, their knowledge slips away like water through fingers. Without emotional control, even the best financial plan falls apart. Emotional discipline is the unseen muscle that holds your wealth steady. It's what keeps you from making rash decisions when markets dip or when temptation knocks. I've learned this through experience and from watching those who have built lasting success. The wealthy don't just study money, they master themselves. They delay immediate gratification, keep promises they make to themselves, and sit with discomfort rather than run from it. This builds a mental fortitude that stands strong through storms. How do you build this muscle? Start small. Each day, choose one desire to delay a purchase, a treat, or a convenience. Keep one promise to yourself, like sticking to your budget or following through on a savings plan. Sit quietly with one uncomfortable feeling, be it uncertainty, stress, or impatience, without reacting impulsively. These small victories may seem insignificant, but over time, they add up to tremendous mental strength. I remember when I began applying this principle. There were times I felt the urge to give up or spend recklessly, but by consciously choosing discipline, I trained my mind to stay calm and focused. This discipline became a habit, and habit became character. And character, my friend, determines your destiny. So here's the key. Financial knowledge is essential, but it's not enough. To truly hold and grow wealth, you must build emotional resilience. Practice daily discipline in small ways, and you'll be prepared to face bigger financial decisions without faltering. That's the difference between fleeting wealth and lasting prosperity. One of the greatest secrets to lasting wealth is the ability to delay gratification. The rich understand that time is their greatest ally, and they master the art of patience, trading immediate pleasure for greater rewards down the road. This simple shift in mindset separates those who accumulate fleeting wealth from those who build lasting legacies. In my own journey, I saw early on how impulsive decisions could erode even the best income. I learned to pause, to breathe, to ask myself if a purchase or decision was truly aligned with my long-term goals. This practice of waiting, sometimes just 72 hours, gave me space to think clearly, to avoid emotional spending, and to prioritize what really mattered. Here's the practical step. Before any major purchase or financial decision, pause for 3 days. Use this time to reflect honestly. Is this helping or harming my future wealth? Will this buy bring lasting value or just a momentary thrill? This simple habit builds a mental muscle called self-control, and it compounds faster than compound interest itself. Think about it. Every time you say not now to unnecessary spending, you're reinforcing your financial discipline. You're training your brain to focus on the bigger prize rather than the fleeting distraction. Over weeks and months, these small acts of patience add up to powerful momentum. I often remind myself and others, money is a tool, but discipline is the craftsman. Without the ability to delay gratification, your financial tools will be wasted on short-lived desires. But with patience, you turn every dollar into a seed planted for future harvest. The discipline to wait and choose wisely doesn't just protect your wealth, it shapes your character. And character, more than anything else, determines your financial destiny. So start practicing delay today. Wait, reflect, decide, and watch how your wealth begins to grow, not by luck, but by the power of purposeful self-control. In the pursuit of wealth, too many people get caught up chasing perfection. They wait for the big win or the flawless moment to celebrate. But the truth is, wealth is built in the small, consistent steps taken over time. The truly wealthy understand this and celebrate progress, not just perfection. From my own experience, I remember the early days when I felt discouraged because I hadn't yet reached my financial goals. But I learned to shift my focus. Instead of only looking at what I hadn't achieved, I began tracking the small actions I took each week, the money I saved, the deals I pursued, the knowledge I gained. Each small victory was a building block of proof that I was moving forward. And celebrating these wins, no matter how small, gave me the motivation to keep going. The practical step here is simple but powerful. Each week, take a moment to write down 3 specific actions you took that moved you closer to your financial goals. Did you save a portion of your income? Did you invest time in learning or start a new income stream? Did you make a better financial decision than before? Acknowledge these actions and take pride in them. Celebrating these small wins is not just about feeling good, it's about reinforcing a positive mindset and building belief in your ability to succeed. Belief is the fuel for discipline, and discipline is the engine that drives wealth creation. When you recognize your progress, you strengthen your commitment to the habits that create abundance. Remember, wealth is rarely the result of a single event. It is the outcome of a series of good decisions made consistently. When you celebrate progress, you build momentum that carries you through the inevitable challenges and setbacks. Don't wait for perfection. Embrace your journey, honor your efforts, and watch your financial confidence grow. Progress, after all, is the quiet victory that transforms dreams into reality. There's a truth that many overlook in the pursuit of wealth. The most valuable asset you will ever own is not stocks, real estate, or a business. It's yourself. Your skills, your mindset, your knowledge, these are the foundations upon which all lasting wealth is built. The richer you become in yourself, the richer you will become in your bank account. In my own life, I discovered early on that no matter how hard I worked, if I didn't invest in my own growth, my progress would eventually stall. The moment I began dedicating a portion of every dollar I earned back into learning, buying books, attending seminars, hiring mentors, me income, and opportunities expanded far beyond what I thought possible. This wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. The practical step is straightforward, but requires discipline. Commit to reinvesting at least 5% of every income you receive into your personal development. This means buying books that sharpen your skills, investing in courses that expand your knowledge, seeking out mentors who can guide you past obstacles, or even attending workshops that refine your mindset. Why 5%? Because even a small, consistent investment in yourself compounds over time. The learning you gain multiplies your value and opens doors that money alone cannot buy. Remember, your future net worth is directly tied to your current growth rate. The faster you learn and improve, the faster your wealth grows. Many people spend freely on things that do not contribute to their advancement, yet hesitate to spend on their own education and growth. Don't fall into that trap. Think of personal growth as planting seeds in a fertile garden. Each seed grows into a tree that bears fruit for years to come. You are your greatest asset, but also your greatest liability if neglected. The moment you stop growing, your value shrinks. The wealthy understand this well. They are lifelong learners, always sharpening their minds and expanding their abilities. This continuous reinvestment builds confidence, creativity, and the courage to seize new opportunities. So, decide today to make personal growth non-negotiable. Whether your income is small or large, put a percentage aside for your education and self-improvement. This commitment will be the catalyst that transforms your life and wealth beyond what you can imagine. The most valuable investment you will ever make is in yourself. Make it with intention, consistency, and faith in your future. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this: wealth is not a matter of luck or circumstance. It is the natural outcome of intentional thought, disciplined action, and relentless growth. The richest people aren't those who stumble upon fortune. They are those who build a mindset that commands money to work for them. They create clarity from confusion, see opportunity in challenges, and invest continuously in themselves. Now, the choice is yours. Will you continue down the path of scattered effort, hoping for a breakthrough? Or will you commit today to shifting your thinking, embracing discipline, and designing your financial future with purpose? Wealth follows clarity, but clarity requires courage. The courage to reflect, plan, and act, even when it's uncomfortable. I challenge you to take one step right now. Write down your financial vision. Automate your savings. Find one new way to add value and build income. Surround yourself with mentors who elevate your thinking. These aren't mere suggestions. They are the silent laws that govern lasting wealth. The road to prosperity begins in your mind. Choose to think like the wealthy. Act like the wealthy. Become the architect of your own financial destiny. Your future is waiting. Build it with intention and resolve.